Hello there, people of the internet. I was out here doing some filming with a bunch of handguns earlier today, and whenever I was looking at this big pile of handguns, I was telling myself, hey, you know it'd be a lot of fun? I've already done videos on the last bolt-action rifle I'd ever get rid of, and the last shotgun that I would ever get rid of. And I figured to myself, hey, you know what? Since I have a bunch of handguns out here already, I may as well make a video on the last handgun I would ever get rid of. This is a direct reference to Hickok 45 in his videos where he talks about the last whatever the hell he has that he would ever get rid of. And I'll be honest, that is a fun video series. I've done 2 videos where I've done that, and now we're going to dive into handguns, and it really gets me thinking about what it is that I do and do not value with the types of firearms that I look for. So I have a lot of different handguns out here. A very good variety of all sorts of different stuff. We're going to go ahead and dive into the things that I know for a fact. What the hell is that noise? God, that sounds like a cricket on steroids. But we're going to go into things that I know for a fact I would not keep. So first things first, 25 ACP. I only brought one of my 25 ACP pistols out here because the ones that I have are Saturday night specials. They're not designed for longevity. They're designed to be disposable handguns. 25 ACP is also underpowered and difficult to find. So anything 25 ACP, especially if it's not a high quality handgun, which is the ones that I have, they're all Saturday night specials, I'm not gonna go with that. So 25 ACP is immediately being put out the window as my least favorite option. I have used 25 ACP as a concealed carry handgun before, but that's because I had no better options. Alright, up next I have this Lorsen, this is an L9, I think, whatever the model is. Lorsen 9mm. This handgun holds, I think, 15 rounds of ammo. Might say on the mag. No, it does not. Oh, 13 rounds of ammo. I think it holds more than that, though. But anyway, I've never fired a full mag out of this thing. This is the same company as the 25 ACP that I have over there, and they are also Saturday night special handguns. They're just not designed for longevity. They are a direct blowback system, but they are a cast metal alloy, and they're just not designed to be able to withstand consistent recoil, and I have seen these handguns give way multiple times. So anything by like Lorsen or Jennings or Raven Firearms or anything that would be considered a Saturday night special, just cast pot metal. Yeah, I'm not going to take anything like that as the rest of my life handgun, because this is if I were to pick one to last literally indefinitely. So we're going to set this one to the side as well. Okay, up next, this one is one that kind of has some sentimental value to me. And this one is a Schiappa 1911-22. There's nothing real special about it, but this particular one is one that was bought for me by my father many years ago. As a matter of fact, this right here is one of the things that got me into guns, and I shot many rounds of 22 long rifle through it. This was back in the day when you could pick up the bulk boxes of 22 long rifle for like $5 to $7, and you could just spend all day shooting and it wouldn't break your wallet like it would today. But I shoved a lot of rounds through this thing. However, this one right here, the one that I grew up with, since I used it so much, it is unreliable. The extractor, the actual spring for the extractor has worn out basically entirely to where the extractor doesn't even spring itself back to where it's supposed to be. And the hammer spring on this thing is so dramatically worn out that it does not detonate 22 long rifle reliably at all. So we get unreliable detonation and unreliable extraction. I could fix those, but I'd rather just go ahead and set this one aside, because even with that, there's a lot of internal parts that are worn out on this handgun just with how much I've used it. It does have that area of sentimental value, but if I only had one, then I would not go with that one. Okay, up next, I have a much more modern Schiappa 22 long rifle. This is one that does actually work, at least a little bit. Let's go ahead and load up a couple rounds for the magazine, why not? For the most part, I loaded mags before I hit that record button for this video, so hey, I guess I'm over here loading mag anyway. I haven't loaded one of these mags in a long time, but just because I used to load them so much, I just have that muscle memory down, and I can feel it. Alright, that's not quite a full mag, but it's what I had inside of my hand, so let's go ahead and throw on some earmuffs, because even though it is 22 long rifle, it is a little on the loud side. And let's put our mag into our handgun. This right here, the handgun itself does not reliably lock open on an empty magazine. Well, let's go ahead and send some lead downrange anyway, assuming that it actually fires. Oh, we already have ourselves a malfunction. Failure to extract. That's just the nature of these 22 long rifles, especially your Chiappa handguns. I have used this one quite a bit. So as a result, this one is also starting to get worn out, but nowhere near as worn out as that other one. So as unreliable as this one is, it is much more reliable than that other one. Okay, did we... Alright, so that's just a dud. And we are out of ammunition. So we had, what, 3 malfunctions in our magazine of, what, 8 rounds or so? But one of them was in dud, and yeah, we actually did struck our 22 long rifle. It just did not go off. But unreliable, 22 long rifle, weak. Since this is a 1911, it's heavy. We do have a rail on the bottom, and we do have ourselves a threaded barrel. But even then, I'm going to go ahead and set this one aside. I would not want this one to be the one to last for the rest of my life. All right, keeping the gauge of 22 long rifle, I have this Heritage Rough Rider 22 long rifle, basically 1873 copy. I really like this one. This is a handgun that I could get behind. It's accurate, it's reliable, it's durable, dependable, and not a lot of money to get yourself one of these. And I'm making shots regularly at the 40 yards that we're at, even with 22 long rifle, even with the trees blowing around right in front of me. Okay, so the one thing that I don't like about this right here is the fact that it has, well, it's an 1873 copy, and you have to load and unload it 1 round at a time. However, one of the major benefits about this right here, with it being 22 long rifle, you can get a lot of ammo. There's like insert all of the perks for 22 long rifle here, but you can also get 22 Magnum cylinders for these if you need something that has more power than a 22 long rifle, and that is a massive, massive perk for this thing. So yeah, although it would take you a little while to reload this thing if you were loading 1 round at a time, you can actually pull the cylinders out and replace them pretty gosh darn quickly. So if you have your 22 mag cylinder and you're using your 6 shots for whatever it is that you're doing, let's say there's something going on and you need a means of defending yourself, and you use those 6 shots, oh no, those 6 shots weren't enough, pull your old cylinder out, put the 22 long rifle cylinder in that is already loaded, and that is a lot faster than loading 1 round at a time like that. 22 long rifle is going to be less powerful, obviously, than 22 Magnum, but boy, is that a really good option to have. I don't think I'm going to get rid of this one quite yet. We're gonna set this to the side for a very good possibility of being a primary contender. All right, what's next? Well, let's go ahead and jump on over to the 1872 pattern that I have here. This is one by Uberti, 1872 pattern. I only have a couple of rounds for this thing. This is a 38 special, same style of system where you have to load 1 singular round at a time. But I really like this handgun. I know I have a lot of handguns, but in reality, this right here is probably the best quality handgun that I own. So the trigger on it, absolutely superb. The accuracy, I make hits regularly with this thing at 100 yards. The sights are excellent, especially in comparison to the original black powder revolver sights where the sight was actually on the hammer itself. This right here has an actual sight on the barrel. And it has 6 shots of 38 special, assuming that you want to actually, load your cylinder completely and you're not just going to do a cowboy load of 5 rounds so you can safely carry around your handgun. 38 special, light recoiling, but it's also accurate. And man, the trigger on this is phenomenal. And my God, this is just an overwhelmingly good handgun. All right, the only problem with it is the speed of reloading. That is the one thing that I really do not like about this style of revolver, because you have to pull out the rounds 1 shell at a time, and it just takes too long. I do like 38 special with how easy it is to reload though, but oh my God. But then again, see, I'm looking for a handgun that will last the rest of my life. 38 special, not overly powerful, but this right here should be enough to be able to handle the things I'm going to be coming across. It does have a steel frame. This is not a brass frame, and this is rated to be able to fire modern 38 special ammunition. So I should be able to do quite a bit with this thing, but, well, it's such a good quality handgun. It's accurate, it's dependable. We're going to set this aside as a maybe. We're going to set that one aside as a maybe. Okay, up next, 1858 Remington. This is a black powder 44 caliber single action revolver. And this particular one, the arm for the rotating cylinder is busted, and the cylinder doesn't always rotate whenever you pull the hammer. You got to like kind of angle this thing and shake it a little bit to get the arm to engage inside of the cylinder so you can pull the hammer back and actually rotate your cylinder. So just because of that, with this having internal damage, even though it is a magnificent handgun, I'm going to go ahead and set this one to the side. That does have some internal damage. I could fix it if I manage to find the parts. Issue is I can't find the parts. I don't want to have to buy myself a whole new revolver just to scavenge parts for that one right there. All right, up next, 1851 44 caliber black powder percussion cap revolver. As a survivalist kind of guy, I really like the idea of using this thing, because this thing right here is set up to where you don't need brass cases. You don't have to reload and properly size and trim and whatnot brass cases to be able to fire your gun. You literally have powder, projectile, and cap on the cylinder itself. And as a result, you can run this thing basically indefinitely. In the event that you run out of percussion caps, there are ways to be able to refill those percussion caps if you need to. Or, I have seen people do this. I wouldn't necessarily trust this myself, but if you take the nipple off and you smash the nipple onto some coarse black powder to where you get black powder shoved into the nipple itself, and then you line up your nipple with the back of your revolver, you can actually take a barbecue lighter and touch it to that little flash hole on that nipple, and that will set off your black powder and send your ball downrange. So you can shoot a good number of things from these things. They don't have to be exact size balls. I have seen people do like BBs and whatnot inside of these, and they'll take like a little paper towel or rag or something and use that as a wadding to hold those BBs in place. So you can shoot this basically indefinitely. If I'm going for a do everything for the rest of my life kind of handgun, that is a really good option. The fact that I can run this literally indefinitely because it doesn't take brass cases. Now what I could do to get myself one of those 45 long Colts, since this is a 44 caliber, I could get myself a 45 long Colt adapter cylinder, and I could load those 45 long Colts with black powder, or downcharge them to be able to run ammunition through this revolver comfortably. This does have a brass frame on it, so they wouldn't be all that powerful, but I still would be able to fire cartridges as opposed to having to reload this thing quickly. Or I could just get myself multiple cylinders for this thing and just have those loaded on standby, so whenever I have to reload, just pull the front off, pull the cylinder off, new cylinder, put the front back on, and you are loaded up and ready to go again. This is a really good option and a really good contender. Okay, up next. You know what? Let's go ahead and dive into this one. Taurus Spectrum 380. Really good for concealed carry, but 380 is a pretty anemic round and not necessarily something I would trust my life with indefinitely, especially if I only had one handgun. The idea behind this is I have this to be able to get to something better, which I normally have inside of the vehicle that I am traveling with. But even that being said, this right here is phenomenal for carrying around, and it is accurate. We're at about 40-ish yards right now. Let's see if I can nail my steel. Yep, I nailed my steel. So it is accurate, and these are 85 grain projectiles that we're sending downrange, so it's not exactly a powerhouse of a round, but it's definitely going to be better than something like a 22, and people have used 22 for self-defense. So best option, no, but also not the worst option. But if I had to pick only one, then something like this would not be what I pick. I do like the pocket pistol concept and just how concealable this would be, but I would find a way to do it with whatever else it is that I decide to choose. Alright, up next, you know what? I have me a P1 in 9mm, fantastic little handgun. but just because of it being single stack, I mean, it does have a metal frame on it. It's very awkward, very sharp edges on this thing. Not ideal at all to carry it. I have carried this thing before, so I do know how not ideal it is to carry this thing around. Single action and double action though, so that is a perk for it. But at the same time, it is just not ideal for a modern handgun. It's accurate though. I'm nailing my steel. Yep, there it goes. Okay, cool. Alright, I think I missed one of those rounds. They look like they hit a little bit low. But, yeah, great gun. Ideal for the rest of my life. Do everything. No, probably not. We're going to go ahead, decock that fantastic piece, but we're going to set it aside. If I had to get rid of my guns, that would not be what I would keep. Okay, I have a 40 Smith & Wesson SW40BE. Trigger on this thing sucks. With this being a 40 caliber, that is a powerful round, but I don't think that I would want that to be my only round. If I was going to pick an only round to keep, I would go with something that was a little bit more mainstream. 40 Smith & Wesson has definitely fallen out of favor. So I got a couple of rounds in this thing. The trigger on this, single action only, but it's like a 12-pound trigger. I do not have hopes on hitting my target at this distance. Hey, I actually hit my target at this distance. Hey, I actually hit my target again. Wow, I'm actually nailing my target. I am impressed with this thing. Okay, we missed. That was probably my bad. Okay, so 4 out of 5 shots with a 12-pound trigger. That's phenomenal. I did better with that than I was expecting. But I would not choose this for longevity purposes. We're going to go ahead and take this one and set it aside. 40 Smith & Wesson, not going to happen. I really like this one though. This is my Star Model BM, and this was my concealed carry for a while. Whenever I went past my 25 ACP Saturday Night Special, I got this because at the time they were cheap, but it's a single stack, all steel frame, but then again, polymer frame, but then again, okay, hold on. Let's send some lead downrange here. This is accurate. I really like the trigger on it. I really like the sights on it. It's just a really good handgun. And I have thought about getting rid of it before, whenever I had some hard times that were coming through, but man, I just could not bring myself to do it. It's just not worth the money that, like, the handgun is worth more than the money I would get for it. And it's accurate. It's accurate and it's comfortable, and it's a steel frame, but it's single stack. That's my big problem. I think that this thing only holds 7 or 8 rounds of 9mm, and I'm not sure if it's rated for plus P or not. But yeah, that's a pretty mediocre amount for 9mm. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'd keep that. We'll go ahead and set this aside as a solid maybe. No, as a matter of fact, looking at this, I can automatically tell that right there is going to be thrown to the side. I have a Ruger P89. This right here is a double stack 9mm. This says 15 rounds, but I'm pretty sure that this can hold 17. And well, 17 rounds of 9mm in a double stack handgun. This handgun, with it being an alloy frame, is actually lighter weight than this single stack 1911 clone. Not only that, but the safety on this, I like the safety a lot better, and it is a decocker, both single action and double action, and the trigger on it is actually pretty gosh darn decent. So yeah, this right here is just overall a better option than that Star BM. Not only that, but you can get magazines for this thing pretty regularly and pretty easily, as opposed to the Star BM, which magazines can be a little on the tricky and difficult side. So let's go ahead and send a couple of rounds downrange. I really like this handgun. This is a comfortable one, and it did not cost me a lot of money to get. Yeah, okay, we nailed the target on every single one of those shots. One thing that I do like with this handgun is since it is a large handgun, it's got quite a bit of bulk behind it, but not a lot of mass, so it's lightweight. But because of the size and just how stable I can get this thing, if I'm sending something like 115 grain full metal jackets downrange, the recoil behind it is really not bad at all. Not only that, but the sights on this thing are phenomenal. We got little red dots so I can really see my sight picture. I can make very fast follow-up shots. This right here is a really good contender for one that I would keep. Alright, well, we're going to set that there, and we're going to look at the contender for that one. I got this Taurus G2C, also a really good contender for one that I would want to keep. White dot sights so I can make acquisitions very quickly. However, this particular Taurus I have had malfunctions with. It is a single action, double action striker fired system. So in the event that you got a round that doesn't go off, you can pull the trigger again and see if you can get that round to go off. It doesn't like steel case ammo very much, but it doesn't like any kind of ammo that I run through it. It just seems that unless I'm running something with particularly light primers, I consistently get light primer strikes. So I have to do a double strike with this thing. I like the safety on it. I like how small and compact it is. For the size, we got 12 round magazines, and you can get more mags pretty easily with this thing. So this is definitely a good option. Not the best option, but it's a good option and a really good contender for the size of the handgun that it is. But in all honesty, well, we'll discuss that here in a second. Let me go ahead and send a couple of rounds downrange with this thing. It's accurate though. Yeah, we made 4 out of 5 shots with this thing. So I can acquire my sights very quickly, and it's reliable enough, but it's really not all that reliable. But I could get past all of that. If I'm going to have a handgun for the rest of my life, I don't want a polymer framed handgun, because here in Florida, I have just seen plastic rot away and flake away into nothing, and I don't want to deal with that. If I have something like, who knows how this plastic on this frame is going to hold up, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. I don't want to shoot this thing, the frame break, me get a face full of handgun slide because the frame broke, because the plastic was brittle. And unfortunately, here in the United States, the frame itself is classified as the firearm, so I would not be able to replace that. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go with a polymer firearm. We're going to go ahead and just set that one aside. Now comes the big question. 9mm or 45 ACP? Ah, God, I have no idea. That is a fantastic question. I really like 45 ACP. This is my Rock Island Armory 1911. This one I got used, and I never cleaned it, so it's still pretty grody. But at the same time, it still runs. I don't think I've had a single malfunction with it yet. Let's see if this changes that. It's accurate, too. Boy, oh boy, it's powerful. Oh, I missed that one. That was my fault. There we go. Oh. I only had 4 rounds inside of this one. I bet I only have 4 rounds inside of that one too. This is a T-Sauce 1911. I like this one better. The Rock Island Armory one is nice and whatnot, but this one's Turkish, so I bet this one's probably got better quality, better material, better quality control if I were to clean it up some. But this one just feels better in my hand. It's got a nicer finish, it's got nicer grips. If I were to take the grips off of this, toss it onto this, and oil up that finish some. I don't know. Both of these are pretty much on par with one another. They're both 1911s. They're basically identical, except for the hammer on the back. I do not get hammer bite with this one. I have not shot this one very often, though. But with what I have shot, I have not gotten hammer bite. Let's send a couple of rounds down range, see if I get hammer bite. Oh, I missed, though. That was my fault. That was my fault. There we go. So both these are pretty accurate handguns. But at the same time, okay, the trigger on this one is not nearly as nice as the trigger on the Rock Island Armory one. That one there's probably about a 3.5 pound-ish trigger, maybe 4 pounds. This one right here, in all honesty, is probably about double that. And my accuracy was diminished as a result. I noticed that immediately whenever I was trying to shoot this thing. I was trying to shoot it in the same way that I was shooting that one. And in reality, I had to stabilize myself more. And I kept hitting low because whenever I'd pull the trigger, I had to pull it harder. And I could feel myself just kind of pull that handgun down ever so slightly, enough to hit low with like 3 of those 4 shots. Not that big of a deal if I were to practice with this thing and get more acquainted. I've only ran like 15 rounds or so through this particular one. If I were to get more acquainted with this one, I could probably run it much better. But just because of the trigger, and if we're going like longevity, I don't know about the materials on this one. I definitely trust the Rock Island Armory 45 ACP more than the Turkish one. Alright, and then there were 5. Oh boy, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. Okay, alright. In all actuality, my God. Okay, if we're talking longevity, we're talking something that will last the rest of my life. This Pieta Probably not going to cut it because of this brass frame. These are known to stretch just over time. They're designed to be ones that you use for a while and then you replace them. And that's not something that I can do, unfortunately. Sounds like we got some weather coming in, so I'll have to hurry this up. So this right here with the brass frame, just going to go ahead and set this one aside, because if that does stretch, even with my lightweight loads, I'm going to be SOL. I'm going to have no handgun. 22 long rifle, I really like the fact that I can have lightweight ammo and powerful ammo if I swap out for a 22 mag cylinder, but I do a lot more, like I do a lot with my handguns, and I don't necessarily trust a 22 caliber, even if it is a 22 Magnum, to be able to handle everything that I want to do. Especially, like, there's times literally where I'll be up north and I'll have a 45 on me because I'm afraid of bears and whatnot, and I can't do that with this right here. 38 Special, same thing. If this was a 357, I would probably pick it, because this is an incredibly nice handgun, like probably the nicest handgun that I have, and definitely the most accurate. Combine the extremely nice trigger with the extremely nice pinpoint sights, and I could roll myself pretty well. But 38 Special, not all that powerful. I'm not sure how much the frame is going to stretch because this is an open top revolver. What else was the thing? This right here, if I'm carrying it, 5 shots only. If I am reloading, slow reloads, it holds 6 shots, but there's no way to safely hold 6 shots without the hammer resting on the back of a primer or having the hammer cocked. And this right here is a really light trigger. This right here is just not going to be the best option for carrying that around. Okay, now we're down to 2. Both metal frames, and both, now it's just 9mm or 45. Do I want single stack 45 or double stack 9mm? Oh God. If this was the 1980s, I would go with 45. But I'll be honest, 9mm has progressed so much in the past, hell, 15 years or so. And it has progressed to the point where we have 9mm that can put out more energy onto its target than ball 45 ACP could. And I don't necessarily trust this right here, this low budget 1911, with being able to reliably run defensive ammunition. So just because of that, we're going to set that one aside. And I guess we have ourselves a winner now. Ruger P89. This right here was a really good choice, a really good contender. Metal frame, so I don't have to worry about any plastic rot or anything like that. Magazines for this are readily available, and they hold a good amount of ammunition. It is very lightweight. Anyone who's ever handled one of these, you guys would know how lightweight this is, because it is an alloy frame, but we don't have the negative sides of polymer or plastic. This right here is a really, really good option. I really like this handgun. So if I had to pick one from the handguns that I do have, it would probably be this one. What is you guys' pick from either your stuff or my stuff? Seeing what I have here, this right here is not everything, but this right here is like a majority of the stuff. I do have some other stuff, but I went with this. Alright, I hear raindrops starting to fall. My camera's not waterproof, and I don't want to get my guns wet. So thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you all in the next episode. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Gary.
shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.